Hello. The first book we'll be reading today will be done in a read for enjoyment fashion. The story is called Nothing Sticks Like a Shadow by Ann Tompert. The illustrations are done by Lynn Munsinger. There's the first page here. See him jumping around. He's got a little shadow under him. See if I can get it there without too much light. One day, Rabbit was dancing a wild fandango in a field with clover. Woodchuck was watching him from the doorway of his burrow. "Isn't it lonely playing by yourself?" Woodchuck asked. "I'm not alone," said Rabbit, pointing. "See my shadow? It goes where I go and does what I do." And he's got his little shadow dancing there with him. Picture there. "I know what you mean," said Woodchuck. "I can't escape my shadow either, no matter how hard I try." "I can if I want to," said Rabbit. "Oh, no you can't," said Woodchuck. "No one can." "I can too," said Rabbit. "Can't," said Woodchuck. And they pitched cans and can'ts at each other until Woodchuck finally said, "I'll bet you my hat you can't." "Looks as if I'm going to have myself a new hat," said Rabbit. He ran and hid behind the trunk of a huge tree. There he is, going to hide. When he looked around, however, he found his shadow standing beside him. Woodchuck laughed. "You'll have to do better than that," he said. Rabbit hurried over to a bunch of bushes and hid behind them. He looked around. No shadow did he see. "I've lost it," he cried, peeking from behind the bushes at Woodchuck. "Give me your hat." See, there he's all covered. Can't see his shadow, but you can see the shadow all around the bush. Here comes Woodchuck. "Oh, no, you haven't," said Woodchuck, pointing. Rabbit looked to where Woodchuck was pointing and saw his shadow's head peeking from behind the bushes, too. There he is. His ears there. "Take my advice," said Woodchuck. "Give it up. Stop wasting time. Nothing sticks like a shadow." With this, he went back to his burrow. Jumping around. "Woodchuck thinks he knows everything," Rabbit said to his shadow, "but I'll show him. I'll run away from you." And with a great leap, he set out across the field of clover. So he's jumping all across the page there. Rabbit took longer and longer leaps. His shadow took longer and longer leaps as it followed right behind him. Oh, he's got a new friend. Soon Rabbit came to a path beside a river. There he met Beaver carrying a broom over his shoulder. "Why are you running?" asked Beaver. "I'm trying to get away from my shadow," said Rabbit. "Woodchuck bet me his hat that I couldn't do it." Well, now they're having a little chat. "Well," said Beaver, "it's easy to see why you can't run away from it. See if you can sweep it away. Nothing sweeps better than a new broom, you know. And I just bought this one at the market." "Well, thank you," said Rabbit, and he began to sweep the path where his shadow lay. Oh, he's sweeping away. Back and forth, back and forth. Rabbit swished the broom. Great whirlwinds of dust filled the air. Soon Rabbit was coated with dust. Dust got into his eyes, making them itch. Dust got into his nose. He sneezed, and then he sneezed again. But he didn't stop sweeping until he could see his shadow no longer. Look at that. Looks like he's dusting up a storm. Look at that. Beaver's getting lost in there. And there he is in his little cloud of dust. "I've lost it," he cried. "I've lost it." Dropping his broom, Rabbit danced a little jig. As he danced, the dust settled to the ground, and there was his shadow dancing beside him. "I guess shadows can't be swept away," said Beaver. "I'm sorry I couldn't help you." He picked up his broom and went on his way. A couple more friends. No sooner had Beaver left than Skunk came along. "Oh, goodness!" he exclaimed. "What happened? I've never seen anybody so dirty." "I was trying to sweep away my shadow," said Rabbit. "Everyone knows you can't sweep away shadows," said Skunk. "You can't hide from them or run away from them either." "Right," said Skunk. "When two things are stuck together, you must pull them apart." Uh-oh. He leaned over, grabbed Rabbit, and pulled. And he's pulling really hard on him there. Nothing happened. He grabbed Rabbit again and jerked so hard that he tumbled over backwards. Oh, he's making everyone fall. Skunk was ready to try for a third time when along came Fox on her way to a meeting of her sewing circle. "Well, what in the world is going on here?" she asked. I'm trying to pull Rabbit away from his shadow," said the Skunk. "Woodchuck bet me his hat that I can't get away from it," said Rabbit. Fox looked at the shadow carefully. Then she took her scissors from her sewing basket. "Some things are just too hard to tear apart," she said. "Let me see if I can cut Rabbit's shadow loose." Uh-oh, she's getting the scissors out. And clip, clip, clip. Fox went with her scissors. Clip, clip, clip. Nothing happened. She's trying to cut the shadow right from him. Fox was still clipping when Raccoon came along. "Well, well," said Raccoon, "what do we have here?" "I'm trying to get rid of my shadow," Rabbit said. "Why?" asked Raccoon. "Shadows are handy things to have. Sometimes they show you where you are going, and sometimes they show you where you've been." So he seems to like shadows. "I know," said Rabbit, "but Woodchuck bet me his hat that I can't get rid of it, even if I wanted to." "Well, did you try hiding from it?" asked Raccoon. "Yes," said Rabbit, "but it didn't work, and I couldn't run away from it or sweep it away either." "I couldn't cut it off," said Fox. "Okay, well, let's try soaking it off," said Raccoon, and he ushered away the rabbit to the river's edge. Uh-oh, down by the river. Rabbit put one foot into the water, then jerked it out. "It's cold," he wailed. "Go on," urged Raccoon. Rabbit took a step. "Keep going," said Raccoon. Rabbit shivered. "It's too cold," he cried. He swung around to leave with the river, bumped into Raccoon, and fell into the water with a great splash. The river swirled around him. He tossed and rolled, trying to get back to his feet. Oh no, there's him falling in the river. Oh, Raccoon grabbed him and dragged him to shore. Isn't that lucky? Rabbit was wet to the skin. Water dripped from his ears. His clothes hung on him like wet rags. Never had he felt so miserable, but the water had not washed away his shadow. There it was beside him. "Looks as if you're stuck with your shadow," says Raccoon. "Why don't you give up?" said Fox. "Tell Woodchuck that he's right," said Skunk. "I don't want to," said Rabbit, "but I guess I have to." Rabbit walked slowly across the field. Oh, looks like he might not be able to get rid of his shadow. When he reached Woodchuck's burrow, Woodchuck was not at home. Rabbit stretched out on a flat, sunny rock to wait for him, his shadow stretched out beside him. He was tired. The hot sun felt good. Soon steam rose from his drying clothes. He thought about moving to a shady spot, but he was too sleepy to do so. Anyway, he said with a yawn, if I stay here, maybe the sun will melt my shadow away. There's the sun in the background there, heating him up. Rabbit tried hard to keep his eyes open to watch the sun melt his shadow, but his eyelids grew heavier and heavier until he fell asleep. It was dark when Woodchuck shook Rabbit awake. You win, said Woodchuck. Rabbit yawned and stretched and rubbed from the sleep from his eyes. Woodchuck put his hat on Rabbit's head. Congratulations, he said. Your shadow is gone. Rabbit turned around and round and round. Oh dear, he wailed. The sun did melt my shadow away. Well, that's not what you wanted, is it? Said Woodchuck. No, wailed Rabbit. I was only trying to show you that I could get rid of it if I wanted to, and now it's gone. What am I going to do without it? At that moment the clouds parted, a full moon shone, and there was Rabbit's shadow. Look, cried Rabbit, it's back. You were right after all. So it only went away because it was nighttime, and then when the sun came back, there it is. And he and his shadow whirled and twirled in a wild fandango. Of course I'm right, said Woodchuck, snatching his hat from Rabbit's head. I told you that nothing sticks like a shadow. Thank you very much for reading with me today.